Baker Mayfield. Yeah, that Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is now back in the news again as he recently commented about his NFL career panning out the way that it did. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Baker Mayfield commenting about his NFL future as he is on a one-year prove-it deal with the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are currently having a quarterback competition between Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask as those guys are looking forward to winning the starting job. Baker Mayfield even addressed his struggles in the NFL when he was asked about why he has not lived up to expectations as a former number one overall pick. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Has Baker Mayfield failed to live up to expectations as a former number one overall pick? And honestly, it's not even a debate. Baker Mayfield has clearly failed to live up to expectations as a former number one overall pick. Why do I say that? Because when you're drafted with the number one overall pick, particularly when you're in a stacked quarterback draft class, you are expected to be a superstar at the quarterback position. You are expected to be a transcendent talent. Baker Mayfield is not a transcendent talent. And the other thing is, he's not even really good for the most part. Am I saying that Baker Mayfield is the worst quarterback in NFL history? No, he's not on that Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell tier. However, Baker Mayfield has been a bust. Nobody can really argue about that. And I know some people might be saying, how come you're hating on Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield won a playoff game. He had 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in his third year. He won 7 games as a rookie. And first of all, those people that say he won 7 games as a rookie, that's a lie. Baker Mayfield didn't win 7 games as a rookie. He actually won 6, although he did play in 7 of the Browns' victories in 2018. More importantly, when you talk about Baker Mayfield, this guy has been nothing but a turnover machine. 64 interceptions in 5 seasons. That comes out to be about 13 interceptions a year. But the thing with Baker Mayfield is he has only actually started in about 70 games, a little less than that, but Baker Mayfield has seen quite a bit of action. And the other thing that I have to criticize Baker Mayfield for is the fact that people talk about, oh, he won that playoff game in Pittsburgh, 91 QBR. That's what you hear from Skip Bayless. But when you talk about Baker Mayfield, you have to realize that winning a playoff game is not the only thing that matters. Because look at Blake Bortles for an example. Blake Bortles actually has more playoff victories than Baker Mayfield. But how many people are going to sit up here and say that Blake Bortles is a good quarterback? Because I guarantee you that nobody is saying that. When people talk about Blake Bortles, they think of him as a draft bust that clearly did not live up to expectations as a former number 3 overall pick. But the thing with Blake Bortles is he actually has more playoff victories than Baker Mayfield. And that one year where he won a playoff game for Cleveland, that was when he had Nick Chubb, OBJ. I know OBJ was hurt for most of the year, but OBJ was still a contributor. He had Jarvis Landry. He had an elite offensive line. He had an elite defense. He had a really good head coach in Kevin Stefanski. The Cleveland Browns that year were really stacked. A lot of quarterbacks probably could have won a playoff game for the Cleveland Browns that year. You put an average quarterback on the Cleveland Browns in 2020, they're probably going to the championship game. You put Jimmy G on the Cleveland Browns that year in 2020, they're going to the championship game. It's that simple. When you talk about Baker Mayfield, he is inconsistent. He's inaccurate with the football. He's not really a great athlete whatsoever. And in a league where throwing for 4,000 yards has been easier than ever, Baker Mayfield cannot do so whatsoever. Baker Mayfield has never thrown for more than 3,900 yards a year. Baker Mayfield has been a liability. He's not accurate with the football. He's not a winner. He's only had 1 winning season as an NFL starter. He's 31-38 in his NFL career. Baker Mayfield hasn't really shown signs of being more accurate, and Baker Mayfield doesn't really have a lot of standout traits that make you think, man, this guy's a former number 1 overall pick. Baker Mayfield's best year in terms of completion percentage was his first year in the NFL. He completed 63.8% of his passes his rookie year, but Baker Mayfield has not come anywhere close to that for the most part. And then Cleveland got rid of him after 4 years. They were willing to deal with the bad PR that was coming with Deshaun Watson, the massage man that is. And they knew that Deshaun Watson was a serious sexual predator out there. And they said, you know what? We'd rather deal with the bad PR than have Baker Mayfield suit up another snap for the Cleveland Browns. And then they go ahead and trade him to the Carolina Panthers, where I got to see Baker Mayfield up close. And Baker Mayfield sucked the life out of the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield, in terms of QBR, was god-awful in that department. Baker Mayfield finished the year with a 24.5 QBR that year. Now, QBR is a stat where they combine a lot of things in terms of how did you perform on this play, how did you do passing the ball, how did you do running the ball. They combine all those factors, they combine all the stats, and they combine all the film that has been conducted on those players, and then they give out an average score of 0 to 100, and Baker Mayfield did god-awful in that category. There's only been one quarterback that did worse than him in a single season. That was Jimmy Clausen back in 2010. If you guys don't know who Jimmy Clausen was, he was an awful quarterback that played for the Carolina Panthers. He was playing for them them the year before they got Cam Newton. The point is Baker Mayfield sucked in Carolina and he kept getting his balls batted down repeatedly. I think there was a game where he got batted down 9 times. There were 9 times where his balls got batted down from the line of scrimmage. That's a lot. Most quarterbacks don't even get 9 balls batted down in a single season. Baker Mayfield got 9 in one game. He made JJ Watt look like JJ SWAT. When you talk about Baker Mayfield also fails to take any accountability whatsoever for his struggles. He's not coachable, he's arrogant, he's not a self-leader, and more importantly, he sees himself as a superstar. This dude has the ego of Tom Brady, but his talent suggests that he's closer to Blake Bortles. And so when you have that kind of combination in you, that's going to be a problem at the quarterback position. He was so bad that the Carolina Panthers had to cut ties with Baker Mayfield just several months after they had traded for him, and they said, you know what, Baker Mayfield, we're going to go ahead and release you because you're just sucking the life out of Carolina. And then he goes to the LA Rams, and people are talking about how, oh, he's revived the Los Angeles Rams and how he's making the Rams football relevant. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, Baker Mayfield only threw 2 interceptions. You know what else is the reason why he only threw 2 picks? They also barely threw the football with Baker Mayfield. When Baker Mayfield played for the LA Rams, he only averaged 170 passing yards a game. Baker Mayfield can't throw the football effectively whatsoever. The thing with Baker Mayfield is he thinks that he's a superstar, but in order for him to be a superstar, he has to have the weather be in a dome. He has to have a top 3 running game. He has to have 2 elite wide receivers. He has to have the best offensive line in football, and he's got to have an elite defense and an elite head coach, and the scheme has to be perfect around Baker Mayfield. Let me tell you something. If you need to have everything around you perfect in order to even just look like a passable NFL QB, that means you can't play in the NFL, particularly if you're a former number 1 overall pick. That's an arrogant prick. Baker Mayfield continues to not learn his lesson whatsoever in terms of taking accountability, and the comments that he made a couple of days ago with the Buccaneers shows that he clearly did not learn his lesson whatsoever, because I have this quote to read from you guys. It was from Twitter. It was from Jenna Lane. It said, quote, "I'm wired different. I don't need anybody on the outside to tell me what I can and can't do. I know what I'm capable of." That quote right there that I just showed you guys just shows you how uncoachable Baker Mayfield is. Baker Mayfield thinks that he doesn't need to fix this game up whatsoever, and that's a dangerous sign to have, particularly when you're a quarterback that has struggled in 3 different places. You struggled in Cleveland, you struggled in Carolina, you struggled on the Rams, and now you're in Tampa. Now you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but at the same time, that core is getting old right now, and they're thinking, man, this Baker Mayfield guy, he really thinks this dude is a superstar, and they can say all the right things that they want in the media, but they know if a guy can play or not because they've seen it in Tom Brady. They're thinking, oh my goodness, this Baker Mayfield guy, he just doesn't get it. Baker Mayfield needs to start realizing that he has a backup quarterback level skill set and that he needs to humble down, because if he doesn't humble down, he's going to be out of the NFL sooner rather than later. This is going to be his final chance to start. He might win a quarterback competition job, he might not in Tampa Bay, but Kyle Trask, I think he's going to beat out Baker Mayfield for the starting job, and even if Kyle Trask doesn't beat him out for the starting job, Kyle Trask is going to be starting games in October, not unless the Buccaneers are trying to tank for Caleb Williams. If the Buccaneers start Baker Mayfield for all 17 games this year, they're going to end up with the number 1 overall pick, because Baker Mayfield is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, combined with his arrogance, combined with the fact that Todd Bowles is his coach. If he couldn't make it work with Kevin Stefanski, if he couldn't make it work with Sean McVay, how's he going to make it work with Todd Bowles? Because Todd Bowles is the man that got Tom Brady his first and only losing record as an NFL starter. If Todd Bowles couldn't even get a winning record with Tom Brady as his quarterback, how is he going to work magic with Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield doesn't have what it takes in order to be a great quarterback in the NFL. If everything is perfect around Baker Mayfield, he might look okay, he might look decent, but he's not that guy. He's never been that guy. He never will be that guy. And until he starts to get it, he won't be the guy. It's that simple. Baker Mayfield is overrated, and he thinks he's a superstar in his head, but honestly, he's just a backup level quarterback in the NFL. And honestly, that's probably being generous to Baker Mayfield, because he probably should be out of the NFL, considering the fact that he sucked the life out of the Carolina Panthers. I saw every snap that Baker Mayfield played for the Carolina Panthers, and this dude was fumbling snaps like crazy. He was getting his passes batted down. He couldn't move the offense anywhere. I know some people might say, oh, but his stats, they don't even look that bad. But let me tell you something about his stats. His stats were padded up because the Panthers were throwing the ball a lot, because they were losing by a lot of points more often than not. And so that's why Baker Mayfield was getting them prevent yards. But when the game actually mattered, he couldn't do anything on offense. I remember the first game against Cleveland, it was opening day last year. This dude had 5 3-and-outs on his first 5 drives, and then when he stopped going 3-and-out, he threw an interception. He couldn't get anything going, and it was against the Browns, mind you. It's not even like it was against a great team or anything like that. So when you look at Baker Mayfield, you just think, oh man, this guy, he just doesn't get it. And his comments that he made about his career prove that he doesn't get it. He thinks that it is anybody but his own fault for why he has sucked in the NFL. But Baker Mayfield has shown on numerous teams that he can't get the job done. But Baker Mayfield, he just don't get it, man. He really doesn't get it whatsoever. This guy's the new Jay Cutler. He can't lead squat whatsoever. He sucks the life out of any organization. So that is why like Baker Mayfield has clearly failed to live up to expectations as a former #1 overall pick. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.